We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Yudam and Beis and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 110b. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing the halacha that if there's a son, then the son inherits. Even if there's a son and a daughter, the son inherits everything. But if there's no sons, that's when a daughter inherits. And Rav Papa said to Abaya, how do you know that's the interpretation of the pasuk? Maybe the interpretation of the pasuk is that when there's a son and a daughter, that nobody inherits. And so now Abaya responds, how could you say that? If you're going to say that then when there's a son and a daughter, no one inherits, so then man leiros, so then who exactly are you saying should inherit? Atu bar kasha demasa leiros, are you saying that the ruler of the city, he's the one that's going to inherit? Of course not. Somebody has to inherit. And so the Gemara says that Rav Papa responds, Hachikwa, meaning here's what I was saying, meaning here's how you maybe can interpret the pasuk. Iko ben ubas, if there's a son and a daughter, lo hai leiros kule, maybe this one shouldn't get everything, for lo hai leiros kule, and the other one also shouldn't get everything, the son shouldn't get everything, the daughter shouldn't get everything. Elaki hadadi leir, so rather, they should inherit together. Maybe that's the meaning of the pasuk. But the Gemara continues, Amar le Abaya, so Abaya said back to Rav Papa, if that's your interpretation of the pasuk, so the pasuk again, it says that in a situation where there's no son, so then the daughter inherits, and then you're interpreting that to mean that if there's a son and a daughter, they both inherit, but v'itzrich krolash, meaning what the pasuk need to teach us, heicha delesle elachad bara, that in a situation where there's only one son, lirsinu lekulu nichse, that he inherits everything, and that would be so obvious, meaning if they both inherit when they're together, obviously, if there's only a son and no daughter, the son's going to inherit everything. Why would the pasuk even need to come to say that? Rather, it has to be that the pasuk is saying that if there is a son and a daughter, only the son inherits, and it's only when there's no sons that the daughter inherits. But the Gemara says maybe not, Vidilma, but maybe Hakamash Malan, maybe we do need the pasuk, because the pasuk is simply teaching the Bas Nami Bas Yerushahi, that a daughter is able to inherit it all. Maybe without the pasuk you would think that only a son could inherit, and even in a situation where there are no sons, we would say a daughter doesn't inherit. So maybe that's what the pasuk is saying. But when there's a son and a daughter, in fact the son and the daughter do both inherit. But the Gemara says no, the pasuk can't only be teaching that a daughter is able to inherit, because Ahumi v'chol Bas Yoreshes Nachla Nafka. There's another pasuk that already says that. The pasuk talks about daughters who inherit, and so therefore we know that in general a daughter can inherit. The pasuk again must be saying that if there's a son and a daughter, the son inherits, and it's only when there are no sons that the daughter inherits. And the Gemara continues, Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar Mehacha. Rav Acha bar Yaakov says that the source that a daughter inherits only when there's no son, but otherwise if there are sons and daughters, only the sons inherit. The source is actually from here. This was the response of the Benos Tzlavchad, the daughters of Tzlavchad. There were no sons, and they said they should inherit. So they said, Lama Yigara Shem Avinu Mitoch Mishpachto Ki Ein Lo Ben. They said, since there is no son, so therefore we should be inheriting. So Taima De Ein Lo Ben. So the reason why they feel they should inherit is because there's no son. Hayesh Lo Ben. But if there would be a son, Ben Kodem, then the son would come first. That's where we see the idea that if there's sons and daughters, only the sons inherit. But the Gemara says, V'dilma benos tzlavchad hu deko amrin hachi. Maybe it's just the daughters of tzlavchad that said that. Maybe they thought that should be the halacha, but nitna Torah v'nischad halacha. But then the Torah was given, and the halacha became new. In other words, just because that's what the benos tzlavchad thought, that doesn't mean that's what the halacha actually is. And so the Gemara says, you're right, that's not a good source. Ela machvarta kiddushan and meikar. Rather, you have to go back to what we answered originally. Again, the pasuk brought the general psukim that are talking about inheritance that imply that if there's a son and the daughter, it's only the son that inherits. And the Gemara continues, Ravina says, Mehacha, from here, the source again, that the son inherits, let's say there's a son and a daughter, only the son inherits, comes from the following pasuk, HaKorov Elov, the pasuk, this is the same pasuk we quoted a few times earlier. It says that the relative, we understand that to mean HaKorov, Korov Kodim, it means whatever is the closest relative, that's the one that inherits, and a son is considered to be closer than a daughter. The Gemara says, Umay Korva de Ben Mibas. Well, why is it that a son is considered to be closer than a daughter? Sheben Kam Tachas Aviv Liyada Ulistei. Like we said earlier, the son is the one that stands in the place of his father in terms of the halacha of Yid, that's marrying the Amo HaIvriya, and also the halacha of Stei Achuzah, that's the ancestral field. The son is considered the same as the father in terms of its redemption, and so therefore the son, because the son has both this Yid and Stei Achuzah, and he stands in the place of his father, the son comes before the daughter. The son is considered to be the closer relative. But the Gemara asks, how can you bring a proof from Yid and Stei Achuzah that a son comes before a daughter? First of all, Yid Yida, when it comes to Yid, Bas Lav, Bas Yidahi, a daughter wouldn't be able to do Yid. Of course, the daughter is not going to marry the Amo Hevriya. That wouldn't make any sense. And Stei Achuza Nami, when it comes to Stei Achuza as well, Mehai Pircha Gufa Yehud, Hakaim Malay Latana, Klum Yesh Yibam El B'Makom She'ein Ben. The only reason that we say that the son is considered like the father by Stei Achuza and not the brothers is because of that refutation we said earlier. The refutation was that when it comes to Yibam, Yibam only exists in a situation where there is no son, so you can't bring a proof from Yibam that the brother should go before the son because there is no Yibam if there is a son, and that very same logic would say that a daughter also stands in the place of the father when it comes to Stei Achuza. The truth is that the Gemara only says that it's a son and not a daughter because of inheritance. Since a son comes before a daughter by inheritance, that's why we say that a son stands in the place of a father by Stei Achuza and not a daughter, so therefore you can't use Stei Achuza as a source that a son comes before a daughter in inheritance. It's the other way around. Inheritance is the source for Stei Achuza. So therefore it can't be from Hakarov Elov, Hakarov Karov Kodem, that the son comes before the daughter, because both reasons don't really apply. You can't use Yid because a daughter can't do Yid anyway, and Stei Achuza, if not for inheritance, Stei Achuza's son and daughter would be equal. And so the Gemara says, rather you have to go back again to the answer we gave originally in the previous Amud, that the general psukim about inheritance seem to imply that the son comes before the daughter if there's both a son and a daughter. And the Gemara continues, if you want, I could say from here, from a different pasuk. It says in the pasuk, Visnachaltem osam livnechem acharechem, it says it'll be an inheritance for your sons, and we can darshan from there, B'nechem v'lo b'nosechem. That's talking about inheritance, and we can darshan that it means B'nechem, your sons, and not your daughters. There's an exclusion of daughters. But the Gemara says, but according to that logic, Laman yirbu yemechem v'mei v'nechem, it says that in order that you should have a long life, you and your sons, hachanami b'nechem v'lo b'nosechem, when we talk about the reward of long life, you think it means your sons and not your daughters? Of course it doesn't mean that. So how can you say that by v'hisnachaltem it means your sons and not your daughters? And the Gemara says that for that we can make a distinction. Baruch Hashani, when it's talking about a blessing, it's different. Of course, it does not only mean sons, but when it talks about inheritance, v'hisnachaltem osam levnechem, it could very well mean b'nechem v'lo b'nosechem. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "V'ha'achin min ha'av nochelin u'manchilin." It said that if you have brothers from the father, meaning paternal brothers, so they inherit and they also bequeath to one another. The Gemara says, "Minolin." From where do we know this? That it's specifically paternal brothers. Amar Rabba says, "Asya achva achva mi b'nei Yaakov." We learn our brotherhood from the children of Yaakov. They were all children of the same father, but not the same mother. Malahalan min ha'av, just like over there, it's from the father. It's paternal, v'lo min ha'em, and not from the mother. Afkan min ha'av, v'lo min ha'em. So too over here, it's from the father and not from the mother. But the Gemara continues, V'lamali, why do we need to learn it from Achva mi b'nei Yaakov? The idea that it's only paternal brothers and not maternal brothers. Mi mishpachto v'yarosho saksiv. We have a different pasuk. It says that the inheritance is from mishpacha, and we already said earlier, mishpachas av kruya mishpacha, mishpachas eim eina kruya mishpacha. The family of the father is called mishpacha, and not the family of the mother. And so that should be the source, that it should be paternal brothers and not maternal brothers. And the Gemara says in Achinami, indeed, you're correct. It really is from mi mishpachto. V'chi itmar de Rabba, and what Rabba said, learning out from Bnei Yaakov, so that's in Yibam Itmar, that was in terms of Yibam, to understand the halacha, that the halacha of Yibam only applies to paternal brothers. They're the ones that do Yibam and not brothers through the mother's side. That we learn from the Bnei Yaakov. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "V'ha'ishas imo," a person, his mother, talking about the fact that a person inherits from his mother. Menohani mili, from where do we know this? Tatanu Rabbanan, because the rabbis taught. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph.